Hey, Pasadena, it's Tuesday, so that means it's time for another 2-minute-ish recap of the week's City Council meeting. I'm Councilmember Jason Lyon, Pasadena District 7. Last night was a special meeting dedicated to a single topic, the city's Capital Improvement Program, or CIP budget, for big-ticket items like physical improvements to city properties and infrastructure. As I mentioned here before, this is shaping up to be a tough budget year because tax revenues are down almost across the board. Sales tax, gas tax, and the transit occupancy tax are all on the decline in the current economy. Add to that the cuts to federal grant funds and the increased costs related to uncertainty in the economy, and it's not the rosiest picture. Fortunately, we're also a city with good fiscal management, and we spend thoughtfully. So the situation's not dire, it's just tight. First up last night was the Public Works Department, which garnered by far the longest discussion, particularly about our street paving budget. To give some context, you need a little bit of background. There's a scale called the Pavement Condition Index, or PCI, because government loves an acronym, that engineers use to gauge street quality. It's a 100-point scale, and Pasadena's average PCI is 58 points. That is not good. We're in this situation because until a couple of years ago, the city prioritized spending on other matters and really underinvested in road maintenance for many years, maybe decades. To bring our average PCI even to C-grade numbers, we'd need to be spending somewhere in the $10 to $15 million a year range on road maintenance. And to get to a B+, we'd need to spend more like $20 million a year. And yet, for many years, we spent about $4 million a year. Starting with the fiscal 2023 budget, we increased that to $12 million, which had us on track for slow but steady improvements. And yet, this year, the proposed road budget was back down to $5.9 million. I think that's penny wise and pound foolish, because the worse our roads get, the more it costs to dig us out of the hole and bring them back up to acceptable levels. In other words, it costs substantially less to keep decent roads in decent shape than it does to rehab a failing road. And we're talking about a core municipal function here. No one else is going to do this for us. The county, state, and federal governments are not coming in to pave our roads. And because roads affect every aspect of civic life, this is not an optional service. We have to get it right. So we need to live within the budget constraint of spending what ought to be spent for the foreseeable future to get the roads where they need to be. We directed the city manager's office to return with options to increase the funding to somewhere between the $10 to $15 million range. More on this next week. We had similarly spirited discussions about the budgets for transportation, water and power, information technology, and the operating companies for the convention center and Rose Bowl. One capital expenditure we did not discuss last night was how much the city is going to invest in solar power as we work to convert to carbon-free energy by 2030. To meet our anticipated power needs in 5 years, Pasadena needs to generate several hundred megawatts of energy within the city limits. And the experts are telling us that solar, coupled with storage, is our best way to get there. Unfortunately, Pasadena Water and Power is still working on the parameters and budget for installing solar in city-owned facilities, so that'll have to be added to the CIP in an amendment later this year. If you want to take a look at the city manager's proposed CIP budget, I'll put a link in the comments. And as always, if you have questions, email me at jlyon@citypasadena.net.